Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I am your host Nathan Lyle, and I'm making this video to have a discussion. If you looked on my channel, one of my earlier videos that I did years ago called Tom Brady is Overrated, it's still one of my most viewed videos, and it still gets lots of new comments every day. I stopped replying just because there's such a high volume. I don't have time to look at every single one, and honestly, I don't care about trying to change your minds, and there's nothing you can do to change mine. I have my opinion. I felt like voicing that opinion, and you're all free to voice yours. I'm here to make a correction to that video, and something that I said in that video was that I don't think Tom Brady is a bad quarterback. He's a great quarterback, but he's still overrated just because everybody acts like he's Jesus and he walks on water. And I still feel that way sometimes, but I won't say the word overrated anymore. It just has too many negative connotations. But I will say he is still overvalued, not necessarily because, he's not as good as people say, but it's because they put too much credit for the positive things onto him simply because he is the quarterback. And in all honesty, I think every QB in this league that is playing well is highly overvalued. And that's just because, like I said, people, they just I know QB is probably the most important position on the field, and it's hard to win without a good QB. But he's not the only player on the team. He's 1 out of 50, and you talk to any NFL player in the league, they will back me up on this. A good quarterback is a necessity, but it's not the end dog for success. You can have amazing quarterbacks who never win, and you can have bad quarterbacks who win all the time because they've got help around them. I mean, we can go to some of the classic examples. Let's look at Tom Brady. I'm shocked as hell that he's still playing this well at such an old age. You see how much, like with Peyton Manning, you see how much he declined as he got older. So for Tom to still be playing at basically the same level, holding steady throughout the entirety of his fucking 20-year career now, it is very impressive. But that's not the reason for his continued success. Just look at the team around him. When he won those first 3 Super Bowls, they had a tremendously talented defense. They had a decent running game. They had Adam Vinatieri. He's the best kicker ever in the history of the league. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no denying that. And all 3 of those Super Bowls were won on his leg alone. Let's give credit to the amazing defenders who were on that team. The linebacking core alone, just devastatingly strong. Bruschi, Vrabel, McGinnis. You have people like Richard Seymour, Ty Warren. You had Ty Law. You had Rodney Harrison. So many Hall of Famers. So many talented Pro Bowlers on that side of the ball. It was a very well-rounded team. And yet, some reason when you talk about those Super Bowls, everyone always says, well, it's Tom Brady's team. Honestly, you take away Adam Vinatieri and you take away the Tuck rule, he might have only won one of those Super Bowls. And then you look at the last 2 that he won. You look at the Giants when he lost. Excuse me, I'm fighting sickness. But you look at the 2 games that he lost to the Giants. I don't think anyone would ever try to argue that Eli Manning is better than Tom Brady. The reason that Eli was able to beat Brady in the 2 Super Bowls is because it wasn't Eli versus Brady. It was Eli Manning versus a really weak and shitty Patriots defense, and Tom Brady versus a really well put together Giants defense that executes its game plan perfectly and kept Tom Brady on his ass all day. You have so many tremendous pass rushers. The Hall of Famer Michael Strahan, OC, Tuck, JPP back when he was still good. You had a great team. You had a great defense that kept putting pressure in Brady's face and keeping him on his ass. That's why the Giants won. Eli was never elite. I heard that earlier. Everyone was saying, is Eli no longer elite? They only considered him elite because he was winning, and he won a couple of Super Bowls. But no, the Giants won Super Bowls with Eli as their QB. And I'll say this, Eli was always clutch. I never considered him elite. It's kind of funny because I look at 2 quarterbacks, Eli Manning and Tony Romo, and they're basically the exact opposite. Tony, during the regular season, especially the first 3 quarters, he's about as good as you can get. But then in clutch situations, fourth quarter, playoffs, he seems to keep making mistakes down the stretch. And it's not always his fault that they lose, but still, it's. I found it hard. I completely lost faith in his ability to ever actually win a championship. Whereas Eli, yes, he's capable of winning championships, but with the first 3 quarters and most of the regular season, he's average at best. He's not that great a QB. But in clutch moments, he is capable of stepping up and making some of those big plays. You've seen it happen. But I never considered him elite. The guy that I would ever start a franchise with. There are a lot of QBs out there who have less rings than him, who are much better than him. And that was one of the first arguments that I made in that previous video as well, that rings are not the end-all, should not be at least the end-all deciding factor in how good someone is, because a ring takes team effort. As I've been saying, with the Patriots, when they had a good defense, that's when they were winning. When they got their 4th ring, they had Darrelle Revis for 1 year. The 1 year that they have the best cornerback in football, they somehow win the Super Bowl, and then he's gone, and they took a few years before they get back there again. And let's also give some credit to Atlanta for that 5th win. They had an epic second half collapse. Really, at any point in time, they needed just one fucking first down. They could have kicked a field goal, and the Patriots wouldn't have had any more hope. Let's give credit to the Patriots, but let's also give credit not only to Tom Brady for scoring points, but to the defense for shutting down Atlanta, and some credit to Matt Ryan for choking like he's done throughout his entire career. Right. And look at Peyton Manning. Like I said, he's I consider him possibly one of the best ever. The first time he won a Super Bowl with the Colts, it was because of Bob Sanders. Now, Bob Sanders has had health issues, but the 1 year that the Colts went on to win a Super Bowl, Bob Sanders actually played 15 games during the regular season, ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year. They go into playoffs. Larry Johnson, an elite running back, he ends up getting like 27 total yards of offense. They completely shut down the Ravens' offense. It wasn't that great of an offense to begin with, but still, they held them to 0 points on the game. And even when you look at that second half comeback against the Patriots, Peyton Manning, it doesn't matter how many points he scores if Tom Brady goes right back and gets touchdowns as well, and the deficit won't shrink. So you do have to still give credit to the Colts defense for holding the Patriots offense in check the entire second half and allowing Peyton that comeback opportunity. Because if they're just exchanging touchdown for touchdown, the Colts lose. So for every fourth quarter comeback, you do have to give credit to the defense for stepping up in clutch moments. And in the Super Bowl, they played the Bears. Rex Grossman was their QB. Rex Grossman. Do you honestly think Rex Grossman is a great QB? No. The only reason they had any shot in the playoffs at all, the only reason they made it that far, is because they had an elite running game. They had an elite defense. They had the best fucking special teams in the league. The Bears made it to the Super Bowl because everything around the QB was good. They had one of the worst starting QBs in the league that year, let's be honest. I mean, maybe not statistically speaking, but when you look at the talent level and decision making, no, they would have had no success if you take away the running game and special teams. Devin Hester, Cedric Benson, Thomas Jones, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Charles Tillman, all these great players around him took so much pressure off of Rex Grossman. So I feel like that year the Bears could have won the Super Bowl with just about any other QB that was in the league. And now you look at right now what's happening in the league with Dak Prescott. Since he got drafted, he's played fairly well. I was not that impressed with him. I thought he's making good decisions. I don't know if I'd put him as a Hall of Famer yet. Do I think they have a shot at a Super Bowl? Maybe, but he still has plenty of room to grow, and there are still plenty of holes on that team. But a lot of people were still saying, "Oh, Dak, he is the future. He's the face of the franchise." No, he's not. It was always Ezekiel Elliott. It's the same complaint I had when Russell Wilson got drafted. And a lot of people said I'm hating on the Seahawks. But no, the guy had beast mode, possibly the best halfback in the league. They had an elite defense. Russell Wilson was the least important part of that team when they were winning their Super Bowl, when they were getting to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. Now, and I'll say the exact same thing about Dak that I did about Russell back then. Does he have talent? Yes. Is he capable of being great? Yes. But he is not the franchise. The entire offense runs through Ezekiel Elliott. And that's being proven now. Ever since Zeke has been out, Dak, I don't think he's had a single touchdown, has he? He's had like 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in all the games since Zeke went out. And the Cowboys have yet to win. And it's because they lost their halfback. They lost Sean Lee, one of their best defender. And so, that's a perfect example right now of how, yes, a good quarterback can make a world of difference. But just because the team is successful, that doesn't mean that the quarterback should automatically get all the credit. I will say it. There are times when Tom Brady gets overvalued. There are times when Peyton Manning gets overvalued. When Peyton Manning won his second Super Bowl with the Broncos, he was a shitty fucking QB. Brock Osweiler was coming in to take his job. And you know what? Brock Osweiler played so much better than Peyton that season. But Peyton still ends up winning the Super Bowl because they had such a great fucking defense. You know, and you see the same thing happening. Ezekiel Elliott, not Zeke. Dak Prescott is highly overvalued. I'm a Cowboys fan. I like Dak. I want to see him be successful. But I feel the need to say that he's just not that good. And I'm not just saying this now. I've been saying this since he got drafted. People are putting too much on him. The talent is there. And most of the time, it seems like he does have good decision making. But you see the effect that it has as soon as Zeke leaves. Our offense disappears completely. Because that entire offense revolved around Ezekiel Elliott. All the success that we had in the passing game became because of all the attention that was being paid to the running back. Anyways, that's my thing. I like Tom Brady. He's earned my respect. He's earned everyone's respect. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he should be on the list of one of the greatest QBs of all time. But I still consider him overvalued just because, as I said, for some reason it's turned into a QB's league where every team that they look at, the first thing they look at is the QB. The team's playing well, they're winning. Obviously, it's all about the QB and no one else. The rest of the team might as well not even exist. The QB's doing all the work all by himself, and that's just so fucking wrong. That's not how it works. So yeah, anyways, that's just me. That's me getting some things off my chest. I just hate the fact that it's a lot of people are gonna look at this video and latch on to the fact that, oh, he went after Tom Brady again. Did he not learn his lesson? No, I'm going after all people who put the QB on a pedestal above the rest of the team. So many people, they look at the league, they look at the NFL, and they say, this is how important QBs are. This is how important their teammates are. When really, it's like this. When you have a good, well-balanced team working together, that's when you have success. Defense still wins championships, and a running game is still very important. If you don't have defense, you don't have a running game, you're not getting to the playoffs. Now that's why the Saints have been successful. Drew Brees has always been a great QB, always. But when they find success, it's because they have a running game. They have a defense that can actually stop people. It's not that Drew Brees is having a bad year or not. It's about, are the players around him stepping up and doing their jobs. And that's the thing that just bugs me so much about the NFL and about analysts and journalists. And just a lot of, not every single one of them, but there are so many fans who, in general, it's the QB. The QB is the deciding factor of a team's success, and that is simply not true. The QB position as a whole in this league is highly overvalued, and we need to appreciate the other aspects of the game just a little bit more.